Okay. So as the title of this video suggests, yeah, I'm here to tell you why Marvel isn't dead yet. And that's pretty weird coming from someone like me who has been sort of off the Marvel train for a couple years now. It just feels like, especially looking at how Marvel has sort of taken the more quantity over quality approach, it's been kind of tough to even get interested for a new Marvel project as it comes out. Speaking of quantity over quality, that's actually one of the things that Kevin Feige recently talked about in his interview with Deadline. Just wanted to come on here and interject real quick and tell you that it wasn't an interview with Deadline. It was actually a press conference held at the Burbank studios, and there's a lot of different outlets there. I use mainly articles from Deadline here, but there is one from Variety in the mix. All right, back to the video. Deadline released a list of articles talking about Kevin Feige and his plans for the MCU moving forward, the introduction of X-Men and the Fantastic Four, and how in a lot of ways he was sort of reconstructing their path moving forward. One of the things that stuck out to me the most is that he said their focus moving forward is going to be on quality. Whereas some of these years we were getting like 3 television shows as well as multiple movies in the theaters, he said they're going to strip it back. So it's going to be maximum 1 to 3 movies in the theater, and then at most 1 streaming series. And I hate to break it to you, I didn't watch Ironheart. I didn't watch Agatha All Along, so maybe I'm not the right person to talk about this stuff, but at the same time, it feels like that's the reason it's relevant for me to have this sort of conversation. There's been a lot of problems with Marvel over the past few years, especially since Avengers Endgame, where even though there was the shining stars in the mix like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 and Spider-Man No Way Home, there was also just a lot of excess in there that it felt like you had to cram for an exam just to be prepared to walk into the theater to see the newest Marvel Studios movie. It's tough to ask anybody in their busy schedules to sit down for 30 hours of a television show. That's a big commitment. Not only that, structuring it to where you have to watch those things in order to actually comprehend and understand what's going on in the movie you pay a ticket price to go see is a bit extreme in any case. I don't care who you are, even something like Marvel Studios that has held fans' attentions for the last 10, 15 years. In his sit-down conversation, Feige revealed that moving forward, Marvel Studios has a 7-year plan moving all the way through 2032. What's even more exciting is Feige said that the plan is on magnets, meaning it can shift and move around as it needs to, allowing for more creative freedom and flexibility and for filmmakers to be able to step into a project and actually put their stamp on it. And that's what gives me a lot of hope, because that's not the sign of a dying franchise. You don't commit 7 years to something that doesn't seem to be going anywhere. If anything, I think it represents that Marvel isn't dying. They might be entering into their next golden age. And remember when Disney bought Fox? Well, at the time, we knew that meant the X-Men and Fantastic Four were going to be coming into the MCU in some capacity, but I don't think any of us realized what that was actually going to mean. Now, from listening to him talk, it sounds like it could actually mean the reboot of the MCU, a fresh restart. And with Fantastic Four first steps on the horizon and a lot of positive buzz coming its way, it seems like they're starting things off on the right foot. Kevin Feige also said that this is the start of Phase 6, and it's a completely contained movie, meaning no homework needed, no prepping or cramming any previous Marvel Studios lore into the mix. You just get to go to the theater, sit down, and enjoy the story it's telling. Now, that's not to say there won't be any major implications for the rest of the studio moving forward from this movie, but this movie in and of itself is the start of something new. And here's where things get really interesting, because the whole Jonathan Majors situation could have set Marvel back quite a few years. It could have completely ruined their momentum. And I'm not saying that in some ways it didn't, because I think a lot of people were soured after, especially Ant-Man Quantumania and certain things that they were heading towards with the character of Kang. Kevin Feige was also aware of that. In fact, it was made known in this interview that he was actually planning on a shift before the Jonathan Majors situation even happened. Talks had already happened with Robert Downey Jr. The plan already was to go in the direction of Doctor Doom, to pivot from that plan that they had set up, because he realized that Kang isn't a Thanos, but Doctor Doom is. For Feige to have that sort of vision and forethought into his creation, to not be afraid of the risks that might come along with it, and to be able to recognize the fact that while they were this ship that was rolling for so many years with no problems and everybody was loving practically everything that they put out, they reached a roadblock. They finally hit a point where everything wasn't going so smoothly. And instead of him crumbling under pressure, he's making a calculated pivot, a course correction. He also addressed Blade, which everybody's been wondering what in the world is going on with this movie. It was promised years ago, and it's still very early on in development. They're losing writers left and right. At this point, I'm surprised Mahershala Ali is still on board to play the character, but Feige admitted it just wasn't ready, and they would rather prioritize creative integrity over quarterly profits. And yeah, I'm bummed that we haven't gotten that Blade movie yet. That was one of my most anticipated projects, but if it's for the sake of quality, if that means that when we finally do get the film, it's going to make more sense in the context of the universe, and it's going to deliver a engaging story and actually feel like a worthy film to be paying to see in the theater, then to me, it's going to be worth it. Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars are definitely going to be the two films that prove if Marvel still got the juice. But if those movies pay off and they're as effective as Feige is hoping they will be, those are obviously going to have a lot of implications for the universe as a whole. He's planning a soft reboot after that point. And who better to lead the new rebooted MCU than the X-Men? Placing these movies into a separate timeline that we haven't yet explored in depth is going to open up the realm of possibilities when it comes to recasting core characters, as well as expanding on the universe in ways that we simply haven't seen. Not only are we going to get the X-Men and the Fantastic Four stories, but it's going to pave a path for those core heroes that we know and love to be reintroduced in a more interesting way. So as someone who was almost ready to jump ship myself, it's very refreshing to see Kevin Feige be so reflective and instill in the audience a sense of confidence that he has a plan for things moving forward. No, Marvel hasn't been without its issues, and I would be the first one to tell you that, but does that mean I want it to fail? Absolutely not. This is one of my favorite franchises, and there's a reason that it captured so many people's attention for so many years. They pulled something off that's never been done before, and even in their off years, they still released Deadpool and Wolverine, which, say what you want about that movie, I'm not a big fan. I know I'm against a lot of people when it comes to that. That movie is one of the highest grossing R-rated movies of all time. In fact, wait, no, it is the highest grossing R-rated movie. Great. That proves my point. Even their bad years are still good. They've got plenty of money, plenty of ideas, plenty of material to turn this ship around and make it head towards something spectacular, fantastic, amazing, incredible. Okay, that's enough with the puns. I can't help but be excited for that. And I feel like any fan of the franchise should, even if you've been soured, let them redeem theirself. So all I have to say is the next time you're worried about Marvel dying, especially after the information that we've recently gotten, I'm going to give an X-Men analogy here and say, Phoenixes don't die. They rise from the ashes.